Commander Sam Wright stood at the viewing window of the Earth Alliance vessel Hyperion, watching the Zolaxian homeworld grow larger as they approached. The blue-green planet with its 3 moons looked peaceful from this distance. Sam took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. This first diplomatic mission to an advanced alien civilization would shape humanity's future among the stars. 5 minutes until docking, Commander, said Lieutenant Kate Miller from her station at navigation. Thank you, Lieutenant. Is the diplomatic team ready? Sam asked, straightening his uniform. Yes, sir. Dr. Gray and the others are waiting in the shuttle bay. Sam nodded and left the bridge. Walking through the corridors of the Hyperion, he greeted crew members with a confident smile that hid his nerves. Humanity had only begun deep space exploration 30 years ago. The discovery of the Zolaxian Confederation, spanning 3 star systems with technology centuries beyond Earth's, had been both exciting and intimidating. In the shuttle bay, Dr. Olivia Gray was checking her cultural database one last time. The tall, dark-haired anthropologist had spent years studying alien civilizations, but this was her first chance to meet one in person. Nervous? Sam asked her. Olivia looked up and smiled. Excited. The Zolaxians have been sending us cultural materials for months, but there's so much we still don't understand about them. Just remember the protocols, Sam said. We're guests here. Their ways might seem strange to us, but we need to show respect. The shuttle journey to the Zolaxian capital city of Vexora was smooth. As they descended through the atmosphere, Sam and Olivia stared in wonder at the gleaming towers that seemed to defy gravity, twisting into the sky like silver vines. Flying vehicles moved in perfect patterns between the structures. Their landing platform extended from a massive crystal-like building that served as the Confederation's central government hall. A group of Zolaxians waited for them. The aliens stood about 7 feet tall with slender bodies covered in fine scales that shifted color slightly as they moved. Their faces had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and they had no visible ears or nose, just small breathing slits on their cheeks. Welcome, humans, said the tallest Zolaxian, speaking through a translation device. I am High Chancellor Vrex. We are pleased to finally meet you in person. Sam stepped forward. On behalf of the Earth Alliance and all of humanity, we thank you for this welcome. I am Commander Sam Wright, and this is Dr. Olivia Gray, our cultural expert. The first days of meetings went well. The Zolaxians seemed eager to share knowledge about stellar mapping, sustainable energy, and medical advances. They provided comfortable quarters for the human delegation and showed patience when cultural misunderstandings arose. On the 4th day, Dr. Gray was invited to give a presentation about human history and culture to a group of Zolaxian scholars. She prepared carefully, wanting to show the rich diversity of Earth's civilizations. Throughout human history, we've created stories to explain our world, Olivia explained, showing images of ancient cave paintings, Greek statues, and Renaissance art. These myths and legends appear across different cultures, often with similar themes. She displayed images of dragons from various Earth cultures, alongside stories of gods like Zeus who could throw lightning, and heroes like Hercules with amazing strength. The Zolaxian scholars began making clicking sounds that the translators identified as their version of laughter. You mean your species actually believed in these impossible creatures? Asked a Zolaxian named Zeet, her scales turning a shade of purple that indicated amusement. Many ancient cultures did. Yes, Olivia said carefully. These stories were important, ways to understand natural events and teach moral lessons. But they are clearly false, said another scholar. No creature could breathe fire like your dragons, and no being could control lightning like this Zeus. Did your people lack basics, scientific understanding for most of your history? Olivia felt her face growing warm. All developing civilizations create mythology. I'm sure Zolaxians had similar cultural phases. High Chancellor Vrex made a dismissive gesture with his 4-fingered hand. We outgrew such primitive thinking thousands of years ago. True Zolaxian history is documented with facts, not fantasies. Over the next weeks, the Zolaxians' fascination with human mythology grew, but not in the way Olivia had hoped. During diplomatic dinners and cultural exchanges, Zolaxian officials would ask humans to tell more amusing tales about gods, monsters, and magic. Each story was met with more clicking laughter and head shaking. Sam noticed that technical discussions began to stall. When he asked about certain technologies, the Zolaxians would exchange looks before explaining that such knowledge might be too advanced for a species still attached to magical thinking. "They're using our mythology against us," Sam said during a private meeting with his team in their quarters. "They think we're childish because our ancestors created these stories. I've tried explaining that we don't actually believe these myths anymore," Olivia said, frustration clear in her voice. "But they seem to think our entire scientific understanding is compromised by having these stories in our cultural history." The situation worsened when Sam learned that Zolaxians had begun referring to humans as the fable makers in their communications with other alien species they traded with. "It's becoming a real diplomatic problem," said Bill Harris, the mission's political advisor. "The Zolaxians control access to at least 5 trade routes we were hoping to join. If they decide we're too primitive to deal with as equals, we could lose tremendous opportunities." One evening, after a particularly difficult meeting where the Zolaxians had questioned whether humans could be trusted with faster-than-light communication technology, Sam found Olivia working late in their shared workspace. "Still at it?" he asked. She nodded, not looking up from her screen. "I'm comparing Zolaxian historical records with what they've told us." "Something doesn't add up, Sam." "What do you mean?" "There's a gap in their historical records. About 10,000 years ago. They have detailed information before and after this period, but almost nothing from that time itself. It's like they erased a whole chapter of their history. Could be war, disease, some disaster they'd rather forget," Sam suggested. "Maybe. But why mock us for our myths when they seem to have their own historical uncertainties?" She looked up at him, her eyes tired but determined. "And I found something else strange. Their oldest language has words for concepts they claim never existed in their culture. Like what? Like gods, spirits, and beings with powers beyond normal understanding. Why have words for things that never existed in your thinking?" Before Sam could respond, his communication device beeped. It was a message from High Chancellor Vrex, requesting an urgent meeting the next morning. The message ended with words that made Sam's stomach tighten. "We must discuss our concerns about humanity's readiness for advanced technological exchanges. Some members of our council have raised serious objections based on our cultural observations." Sam looked at Olivia, his expression grim. "We're in trouble. They're using our myths as an excuse to cut us off from their technology." What neither of them knew was that in a secure underground facility beneath Vexora, Zolaxian scientists were studying something they had found at the edge of their territory, ancient carvings that matched with disturbing accuracy the imaginary creatures from human mythology. The morning meeting with High Chancellor Vrex went exactly as Sam had feared. The Zolaxian leader sat across from him at a large oval table, flanked by 4 advisors whose scales had taken on a stern gray color. "Commander Wright, while we value our new relationship with Earth, we must express concerns about proceeding with certain technology transfers," Vrex said, his 4 eyes blinking in their unsettling diamond pattern. Sam kept his face neutral. "May I ask what specific concerns you have, Chancellor? Our scientists believe that a species still attached to mythological thinking might misuse or misunderstand advanced physics concepts. We cannot risk sharing quantum communication technology with those who once believed lightning came from an angry sky god." Vrex's translator couldn't hide the condescension in his tone. "With all respect, Chancellor, human science has moved beyond those beliefs. Our myths are cultural heritage, not current scientific understanding," Sam said carefully. Vrex made a dismissive gesture. "Yet these stories persist in your culture. Our council has decided to delay technology transfers for at least 1 standard year while we continue to assess human readiness." Sam wanted to argue but knew it would only make things worse. "We accept your decision and hope to prove ourselves worthy partners." When Sam returned to the human quarters, he found his team waiting anxiously. They're delaying everything, aren't they? Asked Bill Harris. Sam nodded. 1 year minimum before they'll reconsider sharing their quantum tech. We can't wait that long, said Lieutenant Joe Rivera, the mission's security officer. Earth Alliance headquarters expects results from this diplomatic mission. Olivia, who had been quiet, finally spoke up. Perhaps we can change their minds another way. The Zolaxians have invited a small human team to join their archaeological expedition to Proxus 3. It's a planet at the edge of their territory with ruins from an unknown civilization. And this helps us how? Bill asked. It shows scientific cooperation, and maybe if we work alongside them, they'll see that humans are more than just fable makers, she replied. Sam considered this. Who would go? They've requested me as I have archaeological experience. And they're allowing 2 others, Olivia said. I'll assign Lieutenant Rivera for security and Jack Mitchell from science. He has training in alien archaeology, Sam decided. When do you leave? Tomorrow morning, Olivia said. The site was only discovered 3 months ago, but they say it's important. The next day, Olivia, Joe, and Jack boarded a Zolaxian research vessel bound for Proxus 3. The journey took 4 days, during which the humans tried to learn more about their destination. What can you tell us about these ruins? Jack asked Dr. Zeal, the Zolaxian lead scientist. Zeal's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. The structures appear to be approximately 10,000 years old. The civilization that built them seems to have vanished suddenly. We have found no remains of the inhabitants. Jack noted the time frame matched the gap in Zolaxian history that Olivia had discovered. He exchanged a quick glance with her but said nothing. Proxus 3 was a cold, rocky planet with thin atmosphere. The research base consisted of pressurized domes connected by tunnels set up near a massive stone structure half buried in the ground. Tomorrow we begin exploring the lower chambers, Zeal told them as they settled into their quarters. No one has entered them yet. That night Olivia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the coincidence of the time frame. Finally, she got up and found Jack in the common area, studying pictures of the ruins. You noticed it too, she said quietly, sitting beside him. Jack nodded. 10,000 years. Same as the gap in their historical records. There's something they're not telling us, Olivia whispered. The next morning, the team entered the ruins. The main structure was like a pyramid, but with curved sides that spiraled upward. Inside, the walls were covered with intricate carvings that the Zolaxians had been documenting for weeks. We will split into teams, Zeal announced. Dr. Gray, you and Mr. Mitchell will come with me to the newly discovered lower chamber. Lieutenant Rivera, please join Team 2 in the east section. The lower chamber was accessed through a narrow stairway that descended deep underground. As they walked down, Olivia noticed the air getting cooler. The lights from their equipment cast long shadows on the ancient walls. These carvings are different from the ones above, Jack said, shining his light on the wall. More detailed. When they reached the bottom, Zeal activated powerful lights that illuminated a large circular room. All 3 stood frozen in shock at what they saw. The walls were covered with incredible carvings showing tall, powerful beings interacting with smaller figures. The tall beings appeared to be manipulating elements, water, fire, lightning, and earth with their hands. Some flew through air, others seemed to be changing their shapes. This is unexpected, Zeal said, his scales turning a pale yellow that Olivia hadn't seen before. Jack moved closer to one section of wall. Dr. Gray, he called, his voice tight with excitement. Look at this. Olivia joined him and gasped. The carving showed a tall being with a beard holding what appeared to be lightning bolts in one hand and surrounded by clouds. Next to it was another figure holding what looked like a 3-pronged spear, standing among waves. That looks exactly like how ancient humans depicted Zeus and Poseidon, she whispered. Impossible, Zeal said sharply, moving between them and the wall. It's simply a coincidence of patterns. But the resemblance is undeniable, Jack insisted. Look at the details. The lightning, the trident, the clouds and waves. It matches Greek mythology precisely. And here, Olivia said, moving to another section, This figure, with multiple arms holding different weapons, it's remarkably similar to Hindu depictions of Kali. Zeal's breathing slits flared anxiously. You are projecting human imagery onto random designs. This has no scientific value. But Jack had moved to another wall where he found something even more convincing. The carving showed star patterns, constellations, with lines connecting them. These are Earth's constellations, he said with certainty. Orion, Ursa Major, Draco. And look, they've marked a specific star. Olivia looked where he pointed. That's our solar system, Earth's sun. Zeal suddenly moved between them and the wall. We should return to the surface. The air quality down here is not good for humans. But we just got here, Jack protested. I insist, Zeal said, his voice firmer than they had ever heard it. We will continue tomorrow after I consult with my team. That night, when everyone else was asleep, Olivia and Jack snuck back to the communications room. Joe Rivera joined them, concerned about their findings. We need to document everything we saw, Olivia said as Jack used their Earth equipment to send encrypted images back to the Hyperion. Zeal knows something, Joe said quietly. I overheard him talking to someone on a private channel. He seemed afraid. The Zolaxians have been hiding something about these ruins and whatever happened 10,000 years ago, Jack agreed, and somehow it's connected to Earth's mythology. What they didn't know was that their transmission was being monitored. In a secure room on the other side of the base, Zeal was reporting to High Chancellor Vrex. The humans have seen too much, Zeal said, his scales now a deep red of alarm. They've made the connection. Contain the situation, Vrex ordered. No human can learn the truth about the Ancient Ones. If they discover what really happened, everything we've built could collapse. Zeal ended the transmission and stared at his own screen. It showed another chamber, deeper than the one the humans had seen today, where something large and clearly not from this world was stored behind powerful energy shields. Something that, according to all official Zolaxian history, could not possibly exist. The next morning, Olivia woke to a strange sound outside her quarters. When she opened the door, she found two Zolaxian security officers waiting. Dr. Gray, we need you to join us for an urgent meeting, one said, his scales a formal shade of blue. What's this about? She asked, suddenly alert. Dr. Zeal will explain everything. Olivia followed them to the main conference room where she found Jack and Joe already seated. Dr. Zeal stood at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable. I must inform you that your unauthorized communication to your ship has been detected, Zeal said without greeting. Sending images of the ruins violates our research protocols. We weren't told of any restrictions on sharing scientific discoveries, Jack said firmly. Zeal's scales darkened. The ruins contain sensitive information. The Zolaxian Council has decided that your team must return to the main diplomatic group immediately. You're throwing us off the expedition because we found similarities to Earth myths? Olivia asked in disbelief. The similarities are coincidental and unimportant, Zeal insisted. Your team's continued presence risks contaminating the site with biased human interpretations. Joe leaned forward. With respect, Doctor, your reaction suggests these findings are far from unimportant. Before Zeal could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the base. Red lights pulsed along the ceiling. What's happening? Olivia asked as everyone stood up. A Zolaxian technician burst into the room. Dr. Zeal, energy readings in Section C are off the charts. The containment field is fluctuating. Zeal's scales turned pale yellow with fear. Evacuate all non-essential personnel immediately. Secure the artifact chamber. In the confusion, Olivia caught Jack's eye and nodded toward the door. They slipped out while Zeal was distracted with emergency protocols. Section C must be below the chamber we found yesterday, Jack whispered as they hurried down a corridor. There's something else down there they don't want us to see. We should go back to our ship, Joe said, catching up to them. This isn't our problem. It became our problem when they connected it to Earth, Olivia replied. Don't you want to know why Earth's myths appear on a planet across the galaxy? They found an access tunnel leading down to Section C. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow as they descended. The deeper they went, the colder it became. "Do you hear that?" Jack asked, stopping suddenly. A low humming vibrated through the walls, getting louder as they continued downward. When they reached the bottom, they found a security door with Zolaxian symbols flashing warnings. "I can't read that," Joe said, "but red flashing lights mean the same thing in any language." "The door's locked," Jack said after trying the control panel. Olivia was about to suggest turning back when the door suddenly slid open. A Zolaxian scientist stumbled out, bleeding green fluid from a wound on his arm. "Help," he gasped before collapsing. Joe rushed forward to check on him. "He's alive but hurt badly." Beyond the open door, they could see a vast chamber filled with advanced equipment. In the center stood a massive transparent container surrounded by energy fields. Inside was something that made Olivia's breath catch in her throat. It looked like a swirling mass of darkness and light, constantly changing shape. Sometimes it appeared human-like, other times it resembled nothing they had ever seen. The energy fields around it pulsed erratically. "What is that thing?" Jack whispered. "We need to get out of here," Joe said urgently. But Olivia was already moving toward a control station with screens displaying data. "These are readings of the entity's energy output. They've been monitoring it for thousands of years." "Step away from those controls," came a voice behind them. They turned to see Dr. Zeal with 4 security officers, all pointing weapons at them. "What is this place?" Olivia demanded. "What's in that container?" Zeal looked at the swirling entity, then back at the humans. "Something that should remain forgotten. You should not be here." Suddenly, the energy fields around the container flared brightly. Alarms screamed as equipment exploded around them. One of the security officers was thrown across the room by an invisible force. "The containment field is failing," a technician shouted from another control station. "Energy levels are beyond sustainable limits." The swirling mass inside the container began to take more definite shape. It grew larger, pressing against the transparent walls. A face began to form, fierce eyes, a flowing beard, a look of terrible anger. "Is that—" Jack began. "Impossible," Zeal whispered, his scales now white with terror. The transparent container cracked. Lightning-like energy arced across the room, striking equipment and walls. The remaining security officers fled toward the exit. "We need to leave now," Joe shouted, pulling Olivia away from the control station. As they ran for the door, the container shattered completely. A wave of energy knocked everyone to the floor. When Olivia looked up, she saw the entity hovering in the center of the room, now fully formed into the unmistakable image of a powerful human male figure with a beard, holding what appeared to be a lightning bolt. "Zeus!" she whispered in shock. The entity turned toward her, its eyes focusing with intelligence. It spoke in a language she didn't understand, but somehow she felt the meaning in her mind. "Not Zeus. That was but one of my names on your world." The entity then looked at Zeal, who was frozen in terror. It spoke again, and this time the words seemed to shake the very air. "You thought you could imprison me forever, little ones? Your ancestors knew better than to try." With a gesture, the entity caused all the lights in the facility to explode. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in dim red light. In that moment, chaos erupted as more Zolaxian security forces poured into the chamber. They fired energy weapons at the entity, which absorbed the blasts without effect. It laughed, a sound like thunder, and raised its hand. "Run!" Joe yelled, grabbing both Olivia and Jack by their arms and pulling them toward the exit. As they fled, Olivia looked back to see lightning arcing from the entity's fingers, striking Zolaxians and equipment alike. Dr. Zeal was desperately trying to activate some kind of device, but the entity swept him aside with a gesture. They barely made it to the access tunnel before the entire chamber behind them collapsed. The ground shook violently as they climbed upward, dust and debris raining down. "What was that thing?" Jack gasped as they emerged into the upper levels of the facility. "Something that explains why Earth's myths appear on alien walls," Olivia said, still trying to process what she had seen. "And why the Zolaxians have been so afraid of our legends." Alarms continued to sound throughout the base. Through windows they could see Zolaxians running toward evacuation ships. "We need to get to our transport and warn Commander Wright," Joe said. "Whatever that entity is, the Zolaxians have been keeping it prisoner for thousands of years, and now it's free." What none of them realized was that the entity they had just seen was only one of many contained in facilities across Zolaxian space, and its escape had sent a signal to all the others. Olivia, Jack, and Joe raced through the crumbling research base toward the landing area. Around them, Zolaxian scientists and security personnel scrambled to evacuate as the ground continued to shake. "There's our transport." Joe pointed to the small human shuttle they had arrived in. They ran up the ramp just as part of the main building collapsed behind them. Jack jumped into the pilot's seat and began the startup sequence. "I'm getting multiple energy surges across the entire region," he said, looking at the scanner. "Whatever that thing was, it's causing massive disruptions." The shuttle lifted off, joining a stream of Zolaxian vessels fleeing the planet. Through the viewport, they watched in awe as lightning storms formed above the ruins, striking the ground with unnatural precision. "Contact the Hyperion," Olivia told Joe. "They need to know what's happening." After several attempts, Commander Wright's face appeared on the communication screen. His expression was grim. "We've been trying to reach you," he said. "What's going on down there?" "Sir, we found something in the ruins," Joe reported. "The Zolaxians. We're keeping some kind of entity prisoner. It's escaped now, and it looks exactly like Zeus from Earth mythology." Sam's eyebrows shot up. "Zeus? As in lightning bolts and Mount Olympus?" "Yes, sir," Olivia cut in. "The ruins had carvings matching Earth myths, and the Zolaxians tried to hide them from us. They've been containing these beings for thousands of years." "It spoke to us," Jack added. "Said Zeus was just one of its names on our world." Sam was silent for a moment, processing this information. "Return to the Hyperion immediately. The Zolaxians have called an emergency meeting of all diplomatic missions." 6 hours later, the shuttle docked with the Hyperion. Sam met them at the airlock, his face tense. "The situation has escalated," he told them as they walked quickly toward the bridge. "We're getting reports of similar incidents at other Zolaxian research facilities. They've initiated something called Protocol Omega, total evacuation of all non-essential personnel from their outer worlds." On the bridge, the main screen showed chaos across Zolaxian space. Strange energy signatures appeared on multiple planets. Distress calls flooded in from research stations and colonies. "What exactly did you see down there?" Sam asked Olivia. She described the chamber, the containment field, and the entity that had taken Zeus's form. "It wasn't just powerful, Sam. It was angry. It seemed to recognize the Zolaxians as its jailers. And now others like it are breaking free," Jack added, pointing to the screen where another energy signature had just appeared. A message alert sounded. "Sir, High Chancellor Vrex is requesting to speak with you," reported Lieutenant Miller. "Private channel." Sam nodded. "I'll take it in my quarters. The rest of you, gather everything we know about Earth mythology that matches what you saw. We need to understand what we're dealing with." In his quarters, Sam activated the secure channel. Vrex's face appeared, his scales a mottled gray and yellow. Stress and fear Sam had learned to recognize. "Commander Wright," Vrex said, his voice uncharacteristically shaky. "I must speak with you urgently about a matter of grave importance." "About the entities escaping from your secret facilities?" Sam asked coldly. Vrex's eyes widened. "Your people saw it." "They did. They also saw carvings showing these beings visiting Earth thousands of years ago. You owe us an explanation, Chancellor." Vrex's breathing slits flared. "What I am about to tell you has been hidden from most Zolaxians for 10,000 years. Only the highest levels of our government know the full truth. I'm listening. 10,000 years ago, our civilization encountered beings of immense power. They could manipulate matter and energy at will, travel vast distances instantly, and even change their form. They claimed to be gods. Like the gods in human mythology," Sam said. "Exactly like them, because they were the same beings," Vrex admitted. "They visited many worlds, including yours. Early humans worshipped them as deities." "What happened 10,000 years ago?" The beings began fighting among themselves. Their conflicts nearly destroyed our homeworld. Our ancestors developed technology to trap them in pocket dimensions, contained spaces cut off from normal reality. It took generations and cost millions of lives, but eventually, we captured them all. And erased this from your history, Sam said. We had to. The knowledge was too dangerous. We established secret facilities to monitor the containments, with only a few knowing the truth. And now they're escaping, Sam stated flatly. Yes. The one your people saw was the first, but others are following. Our scientists believe they've been communicating somehow, planning this for centuries. Vrex's scales paled further. Commander, you must understand. These entities hold particular hatred for Zolaxians because we imprisoned them. But they have a connection to Earth. Some even favored humans. What are you suggesting? Sam asked. We need your help. Human myths contain information about these beings, their powers, their weaknesses, how they interacted, information we deliberately erased from our own records to prevent anyone from trying to release them. Sam laughed bitterly. The same myths you mocked us for preserving. Yes, Vrex admitted. Our ridicule was deliberate, to discourage humans from recognizing the truth if they ever encountered evidence of the beings. Before Sam could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. He rushed back to the bridge, where chaos had erupted. Report, he commanded. Sir, a Zolaxian vessel just exploded near the diplomatic station, Lieutenant Miller said, and we're detecting a massive energy signature approaching. On the main screen, something that looked like a tear in space itself was forming. Light spilled from it in impossible colors. All hands, battle stations, Sam ordered. Shields up. In the tear widened and a figure emerged. Not Zeus this time, but something that resembled depictions of the Egyptian god Anubis. Jackal-headed, tall, and radiating power. It's hailing us, said the communications officer in disbelief. On screen, Sam said, bracing himself. The image shifted to show the jackal-headed being. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move, but everyone heard the words in their minds. Children of Earth, it said in a deep, resonant voice. The time of awakening has come. The false ones who imprisoned us now face judgment. This is Commander Sam Wright of the Earth Alliance vessel Hyperion. Who are you, and what do you want? The being's eyes glowed. Your ancestors knew me as Anubis, judge of the dead. What I want is justice for 10,000 years of imprisonment. The Zolaxians must pay for their crimes against us. And what about humans? Sam asked cautiously. Humans remembered us. Your stories kept our names alive when the Zolaxians tried to erase us from history. For this you will be spared our wrath. The being paused. If you help us. Help you how? There are more of us still trapped. Your ship carries something that can free them. Human belief. The stories you carry in your minds are keys to our prison doors. Sam felt cold dread washing over him. And if we refuse? Then you choose the side of our jailers, Anubis said simply. Decide quickly, Commander. Others of my kind are less patient than I. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sir, Olivia said quietly, if Earth myths are true, if these are actually the beings our ancestors called gods, then we're caught between angry deities and the aliens who imprisoned them, Sam finished her thought, and we have to choose a side.